All right, we'll call the meeting to order, and Mark will lead us in prayer and pledge if everyone would please stand.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Six 8-2, Declaration of Conflict. Per TCA 49-2202, Board of Education members who have relatives per the statute, relatives means spouse, parent, parent-in-law, child, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, nephew, niece, or any person who resides in the same household as you, employed by the system, are asked to raise your hands to identify yourself. Do you clarify that the vote that you make tonight will be in the best interest of the school system, regardless of the effect that your vote may have upon the employment of your relative or relatives? I do. 6-8-3, approval of the consent and regular agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. 6-8-4, approval of June budget amendments.
Motion we approve. Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Weiss, are you gonna ask if there's any big items on there?
Is there any 100,000s on there, Gail? I'm raising it this time from 50,000 to 100,000.
There's one to pull money from the cafeteria fund balance so they can purchase equipment for several school cafeterias.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Wait, ma'am,
Whoops, I'm sorry.
would this be the time? Now, have we paid anything, have we got the purchase order on the bleachers?
Oh, yes, yes.
So we've got the purchase
They're being
order.
installed.
Okay, so they're being installed, we've not paid them any money yet, right?
Correct.
Have we got, so we've not paid them any money?
Correct.
They get no money till they get through.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, I think that, as good luck as we've had on that, I believe that'd be our best route. When they get done, they get their money.
Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
Motion passes. 6-8-5, approval of the minutes from May 18th, 2023, regular board meeting.
Oh, move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. New business. Approval to accept the school uplift grant awarded to Massville Intermediate School in the amount, change that to $410,000 instead of $400,000.
Madam Chairman, I move this be approved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I've got a question if nobody else does yet. Okay, where I can get straight, this is the grant. This is the grant that we got at the middle school, right?
No.
Intermediate.
The intermediate, okay. So that's, does that cross over on this, all this project that we've got going?
No.
How does it not?
It's specifically for Massville Intermediate School, and it's, the money's pre-approved for the lighting and HVAC classroom changeouts.
Is
And
that,
is it outdoor space? Yeah, in addition to an outdoor space.
but wasn't that what that deal was that we voted in, where we're gonna go through all this energy saving deal?
No.
So no lighting or anything was,
Originally, we left it in there, hoping that we would win the grant, and then if we did win the grant, which thankfully we did, then that money was going to try to be used for something else or placed back into the fund balance.
so we get the money. We get this,
Madam Chairman, I think it'd be a good time for us to paint this blanket, and for faculty and students, staff, they just did a yeoman's effort. Every time to just see what they were doing, it's been amazing. Gentlemen, thank you.
So now,
Yes.
that's the one that you've got to have done in 6 months,
The TVA one?
the grant she got.
The 410,000.
It's not 6 months. The grant, we're just spending 6 months. Yeah. Yes,
It does have to be in 6 months.
there's a time frame on it that it has to be done within, yes.
Has the clock started ticking yet? I'm just concerned, they did a good job getting the grant,
No, the clock's not started ticking yet.
but I'm
TVA
concerned
has
about
the-
that 6 months.
TVA has the paperwork, we're waiting on the approval back from TVA to give us the authority, whatever you wanna call it, the go-ahead to proceed, the green light. We're waiting on TVA.
And you're contracting it out to get it done. You're not doing it in-house.
That is correct.
Any more discussion?
One question, Philip. You said last time that we were 75% done on that energy efficient program we were doing. So none of the work at this intermediate school was in that 75%?
Correct,
So none of the work we had done was at that school?
correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And we'd all like to thank you and everyone involved with that grant. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. 6(8)-7, approval of the 2023 board meeting calendar, which we'll notice some changes, and we'll have to discuss those changes. In October, we have to reschedule due to fall break, and we can either do it the first Thursday or the third Thursday.
Do we have a copy of that?
It was in the, I printed mine off, it was in the, I can pass it down if I know. I'm gonna suggest the third Thursday, because I have meetings on the first Thursday with the city, but I can maybe skip one, and we've got two, we gotta adjust.
I'd like
What date are
to-
you talking about right now?
Reschedule fall break to the 5th or the 19th.
I'd like to do it on the first Monday, Thursday. You think we could do that?
Are you being contrary with me? Come on, Dave.
Whenever you want to do it, suits me fine.
Anybody have a problem with the 19th, which would be the third Thursday? Okay. The other one is May 9th to reschedule due to graduation. We can do it on the 2nd or the 16th, so I'll let you all pick that one.
You did good on the other.
Okay, 16th? That'd be the third Thursday again. Does anybody have any problems with those? Okay, I'll need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. 6(8)-8, testing data. Dr. Leanne Strickland, NT.
You guys have a handout that was in your packet, and then I gave you a second handout when I came in here this evening. The second one is just some data that was released late last night or yesterday evening from the state on the third grade retake. That's just an FYI. That's for your information only. We won't get into that unless you guys have questions, but I thought you might be interested to see how our data on the retake compared to the rest of the state. So we're going to start, look at the page that has the 3 boxes in it that starts with the state mandated assessments at the top. Shawnee, you want to review that?
So our team has already been meeting, looking at our scores. Of course, we have raw data, so we don't have specific data. Once we get that, we will be pouring into that. But we've already begun meeting as a team to just kind of brainstorm at this point in the game, maybe some things we may need to do differently for next year. So the red box is all the state mandated testing that we have. So we've included the TCAP, the ACT, our universal screeners, our benchmark assessments, and then the growth measure for pre-K through 2 teachers. They currently do the portfolio. Then the blue in the middle is Monroe County, what we require, and part of that overlaps what the state requires. And then the green is considerations for next year. So one of the main ones is in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. We have talked about considering we have to have a growth measure for K-1-2. We're currently doing portfolio, which takes a lot of teachers' times. They have to individually test kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade students on things such, or kindergarten and 1st grade students on such things as, can they count to 100? Can they, whatever it is, it's a lot of time. They have to video record a student, like reading a story and then explaining what the story's about. So we think maybe that's just taking a lot of time. So the state has changed the rules, and we can opt in to using our universal benchmark screeners, which is what Angie Garrett is in charge of for the RTI program. We can use those scores in place of the portfolio scores. We're already doing the benchmark training or assessment that Angie Garrett's in charge of. So we're already doing that. So we're thinking maybe if we can take off the portfolios off the teacher's plate and do what we're already doing, then maybe that will free up some instructional time. And again, these are just considerations, things that we've talked about. We've also opted in for the 2nd grade optional TCAP test. I don't know how many years now, as long as I can remember, 28 years I've been here. And so we're thinking maybe we should just use the universal benchmark screener and not do the 2nd grade TCAP test again. Lots of pressure, lots of stress. Maybe we can pinpoint and focus our time in other areas. Continued supports for 3rd grade teachers, students, families, based on what our data results are. But just wanted to let you know that the wheels are already turning, and that's what we're thinking of. Again, it's not set in stone, it's just considerations. So any questions, suggestions, comments?
I have a question, please. What you just said right there, we spent a ton of time testing. And what you just said right there hit with me. Maybe it'll free up some instructional time. And aren't we supposed to be instructing kids instead of spending time with testing? And if this test spent millions and millions of dollars to develop, that's a true fact, isn't it? Then why, if it's so good, then why are we retesting? And kids, why are we retesting? If it's so good to begin with.
I mean, that would be
Yeah, that was an exception
Yeah.
this year. We've never done that before. This 3rd grade retake was the first time in my career that they've ever had something like that. And it was because there was a lot of criticism to the state that we were retaining students based on one test. So they said, well, we'll give them another chance to take that same test. So they took the ELA portion of the 3rd grade test without the writing part of it and gave it again on computer. So students who didn't pass it the first time got a chance to retake the same content again to see if they passed it. That's unprecedented. I've never seen, that's not to mention between the original TCAP test, which was at the end of April, to the retake, there was no instruction. The students didn't have, at that point, school was out. So they weren't preparing to take that retake. They just came in and took it again. So to me, it was illogical to even do that. It was just another shot at taking the same test.
The shot at giving a chance to kids to pass, because we can't hold back 70% of our kids.
Correct.
That's the bottom line, isn't it?
Yes. So you can see on the sheet I just handed out, the data that we didn't expect the state to release, but they did. That was a surprise last night. Of the 104 students we tested on the retake, 15 of them passed it. So that was 15 students that didn't pass it the first time. They passed it the second time. So they're done. They get promoted, no summer school unless they want to. No, tutoring will be optional for them. They just get to be promoted to 4th grade. So we did have about 15 students who did improve.
Do we retain any children?
Rarely. We retain, very rarely, usually at the lowest primary grades, and it's, Shauna can probably speak to this.
in the
but-
last 10 years, That
We
has
don't-
not been a practice. Now
So we
that,
don't retain them.
now, moving forward, that is something the leadership team is beginning to discuss here, and that, again, that's not set in stone, that's a consideration, I didn't put it on here. But we are considering that moving forward, to go back the way we used to do, and maybe kindergarten, first or second grade, will be more age appropriate, best for the student to be retained than wait until third grade.
Let me ask you, which from last year, the testing, I'm against the test, the state testing. Okay, you say you're gonna discontinue the reading in kindergarten and the first grade.
Well-
What are you gonna focus on? I see nothing wrong with a kid. Teacher's got, what, 25 to 30 kids?
That grade, 20 in that
20
age,
kids.
yeah.
For 36 weeks. They need to be able to count to 100.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to be able to sit and read. If it's just something simple and understand.
Right.
Why would we not, if we're not gonna focus on that, what are we gonna focus
Well,
on?
we're not gonna not focus on that. We're still gonna be teaching the standards. They're still gonna be counting to 100 or whatever the standards say. We're just not gonna be spending time video recording all 20 students doing that. I mean, the teacher knows whether they can do it or not. The teacher can do it.
exactly right.
But when you have to get an iPad and you have to sit there and the other kids have to do something quietly, or you have to pull one out in the hallway, so that you could record a video to upload on the platform to the state to grade, that's a lot of time. That's the part, we're not going to discontinue any teaching. We're hoping that will free up time so that teachers can spend more time with students and teaching, and not having to go through all 20 kids. They have to measure them on, it's either 4 or 6 different standards, and upload all that to the state to prove that the
So the
students can do
state
that.
they don't believe us. They've got to have proof.
Well, I mean, that's how they have it set up.
Well,
So I don't want to come off as saying we're going to discontinue any of our expectations or not teach the standards or not instruct.
that's
Well,
what
we're
it
talking.
says.
No, the test, the portfolio is what we're talking. We're talking about, they'll still be tested. They'll still be using this Ames Web benchmark test that they already take 3 times a year to see what sounds do they know, what letters do they know, add, subtract, all that. We're still going to do that. We're just going to eliminate all this other time. And not every district does the portfolio now that the state has allowed you to do something else. A lot of districts, not a lot, but I've talked to a few around us, and they're kind of pulling back from the portfolios. Portfolios has only been around maybe 6 years. That's not been something we've done for the last 28 years.
Shauna,
So, yes, sir.
in your expertise, 28 years, how long we been testing? I don't know about these other folks. I didn't have kindergarten. And I don't remember my mama whipping my butt and making me sit down and study, but I can read and write and add and subtract and all that. Has there been a trend of going down, holding kids back and all that since we started all this testing? What's your experience in that?
Well, are you on not holding kids back, on not
No, I'm
retaining?
talking about all this testing that's been going on. Have we seen a downslide of, I don't know what the right word is. What's the right word I'm looking for, Leanne? Intelligence or?
Well, I think, lower
knowledge?
performance. Yeah, what happened was about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I first started, the U.S. Department of Education, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce said Tennessee was not properly testing our students. We were not advertising the ability of our students fairly. We were saying 90% of our students were on grade level, but on the national test, it was more like 40% of our students were on grade level. So the U.S. government came in and said, you've got to have a harder test. Your test is too easy. Because you're saying 90% of these kids are on level and they're not, according to a national standard. So that was around 2000. And so we revamped everything in Tennessee. It was the Tennessee Diploma Project, which I'm sure you've heard of. The Tennessee standards changed, the assessment program changed, everything changed, and it all got more difficult, more rigorous. The bars got raised, and so we saw this very quick drop in our performance because the test got a whole lot harder. So then we just had to strategize how we were approaching that, and we went through a couple different rounds of changing the test, changing standards. I mean, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. We've gotten a lot of money coming through under Race to the Top, which was the previous round of stimulus money where we had a lot of grant money come in and we got to get a lot more technology and things like that, a lot more professional development. Now we've been through the round of COVID money where we've had a new batch of increased technology, things like that. But I think the bar got changed. I don't think the quality of teaching has changed. I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. I think we have
No.
to teach a test rather than teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and
Sort of. I mean, you could argue that. I mean, we teach the standards, and the standards are more rigorous. Some of the standards have gone to lower grade levels from where they used to be, things like that, so it's more challenging. And anybody can tell you that the students we're getting in school are less prepared than ever. So we're starting farther back and taking them to a farther finish line, and it's just challenging. And I think the current third graders, one of the reasons I think we see some lower achievement with them compared to some other districts around us is when COVID hit and we shut down school, none of our students had a device. So we had most districts around us, they already had one-to-one computers and we did not. So we spent that first year buying those computers and now they're one-to-one. But in the meantime, we were doing the best we could. The students who happened to have a computer at home and parents who would support them that way got to do more than those who didn't. The rest of them got a packet, and we hoped for the best. So I think we're still gaining that ground. I mean, this group of third graders, and it's mentioned on your handout, they did improve about 10% from last year on the TCAP, which is huge. We would never set a goal that high to say we want this cohort of students to improve by 10%, but that's what they did. So we know that the work is getting done. It's just, we were behind to begin with, and so we're getting there. So it's discouraging, but also encouraging if you really look at all the pieces of the puzzle. And our retake data is very comparable to the whole state. So again, that shows that our students are capable and our teachers are doing their jobs. We just have a little bit farther to go than some.
What's it true or not true that if the student scored a certain amount on their benchmark and then appealed to the state
Yes.
and it was close, they were saying, okay, is
Yes.
that right or not?
Yes, we had about, it's on here, 52 students got to appeal based on their Ames Web data. And we've got the first report again last night on how those appeals are being approved. And I think so far we've had about 30 of those approved. So those students are good to go. They promote to 4th grade and they're fine. They don't have to have required summer school or tutoring, though we will certainly offer tutoring to as many students as we can. And we've welcomed students into summer school even if it wasn't required everywhere that we had space.
Just observation, I have a teacher of my family.
Of course.
I've heard a lot about portfolios.
Yeah.
That time consuming it is.
Yes.
And taken away from instructional time.
Yes.
So I'll voice an opinion about it because I'm not an educator, but I think that's certainly something that needs to be looked
Great.
at.
We have a lot of work to do this summer to figure some of this stuff out, but we've had a lot of conversations already and met as much as possible with the data we have so far, and we're very open to conversations, and our teachers have given us some of that feedback that we're listening to and trying to respond to.
May I just say this, and I don't speak for the board, though sometimes I like to. If there's anything I think this board can do to support you all or help you, we'd be
We love the same team mentality. We're all together in this. We've all lost sleep over this. We want nothing but encouragement and support for our teachers, our principals, everybody that's showing up every day doing the work. And we know districts around us are paying more money and they're advertising great, packages or whatever, but our people are here because they want to be here. And they want to serve our kids. And so the more positive and encouraging things that can be said, I think that helps us all.
Absolutely. And I mean, I was at a school the day that grade cards went out and talked to many, many parents whose students were approaching but not quite there, who made good grades, who do well. I have grandkids who are scoring up here on all this other stuff, but maybe maybe they can't take a timed test very well. And it was upsetting to see parents who try, students who try in tears I mean, we're not good enough. What can we do to be better? Because there's a bar here that we're all going to work toward, whether we all reach that or not. So again, it goes back to that same team. We're here to support. Teachers cannot work any harder in Monroe County than they're working. So we're here to support teachers, their students, and families in this community. And we just need to do it all.
Say one more thing, and I'll be quiet and let us talk. I've never seen a situation where we put this much pressure on kids about one test.
Yeah. It's
Saying
unfortunate.
if you fail this test, you're gonna have to repeat the third grade. These kids were nervous wrecks. No
Yeah.
wonder they didn't perform well.
It's inappropriate, in my opinion.
In my opinion, there's too much pressure on teachers. The teachers get
Absolutely.
smacked down if their kids don't perform well.
Absolutely.
So if, just correct me right here, 20, 30 years ago, the federal government said Tennessee kids weren't smart as the rest of the people in the world.
Yep.
And now then, where are we with the rest of the United States?
Well, we've improved compared to the nation.
But we weren't
Um,
as smart as the rest of them out there in California.
Well, what they said was that we claimed to be, but we really weren't. So now we've come up a lot, and I'm sure you've seen some of the publicity campaigns from the State Department that we were the fastest growing state in the nation. We've had some record-breaking improvements in different grade levels based on the national assessment. But I think we've always done a good job here. I was educated here. My children have been educated here. You know, my dad, he certainly made sure we went to school and we studied when it was time to study. So there's no breaks there. And I remember taking a TCAP test. I don't know that it was called that, but I do remember taking one. I don't remember it being so high pressure.
Yeah, there was no pressure.
I don't remember it being a high stakes test. And I know the accountability just gets more and more difficult for schools and teachers. I mean, we live for those reward school statuses and exemplary district status, and I've been very clear, that is our goal for this district, is to be exemplary, to be, the best of the best, and we can be, we know we can be, we just have to get there.
I'd like to echo what Dr. Shipman said about if there's anything we can do to help, you need to let us know.
Sure.
Just anything. I got one other question though also.
Yeah.
Let's quit talking about third grade. Are all the other test scores still embargoed?
Yep.
So will you think it'll be August again before we get some results on those?
We think it'll be mid-July. July 19th, I think, might be the date, somewhere in there, mid-July.
Okay.
Well, I mean, again, this lifting the data embargo is something that we did not see coming. We didn't expect any of this to be released to the public yet. We wrote a statement to the media saying we can't share any of this. And then Knox County did share it. And all the accountability people in districts who I know, we were all going, what are they doing? How can they do that? That's crazy. Somebody's getting fired. And then a couple days later, the state said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and lift that embargo and release this data. We had basically no notice. So we were pretty frustrated with that because it's raw data, which means we just know how many questions the students got correct. We don't know which standards they mastered. We don't know any of that. We just know a simple basic, they got 25 questions out of 50 correct, which tells us very little. But we're dealing with the programs that we're handed. We can't do anything about that, so we're just trying to focus on what we can control. And so again, I just be encouraging to anybody that works in the school system, because they're showing up and doing the work, and that's what's most important.
You said something right there. You said a minute ago, we are allowed to opt out of some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Is there not if we feel this strong, and I'm like, Dean, I'm anti-testing. I don't ever remember taking a TCAP test.
Mm-hmm.
The only test I ever took was the ACT test, and I slept through iFit, and I don't care to say it. But is there tracks we can take to opt out some of these things that we feel strongly against?
No.
What if we did?
Well, we would lose our state funding and probably
Close the
Dr.
door.
Windsor might go to jail.
We couldn't appeal it and say, we can't appeal it and say, we don't like this, Monroe, it ain't good for Monroe County.
We can't even let an individual student opt out of the test if their parent says, I don't want my child to take it. They're participating in public education, and this is a requirement of that.
So they say that you can opt out of something, but they make the decision, we don't.
What we are allowed to opt out of is the portfolios for the kindergarten and first grade teachers, and then the second grade TCAP is optional. We've given it for years. We like it because of the data that it gives us for third grade. It generates a growth score for third grade teachers, which is helpful and informative. But if it's not helping kids, then we will consider not giving it. And that's not a final decision, but that's something we're considering because we have heard some feedback from teachers that they're spending some time preparing for the test instead of just
Teaching kids.
teaching kids.
Amen.
So we will try to opt out of everything we can.
Is there an Ames Web type test that they can take in second grade?
Yes.
That would tell us the same thing as the teacher.
It doesn't tell us the same thing. It's very different. But it will tell us what we feel like we most need to know, which is how fluently they're reading, how they're comprehending what they read, their basic math skills, math comprehend, just some of the basic skills that will be helpful for third grade teachers to have. But it's very different than what the TCAP measures.
It's not a pass-fail. It's just
No.
age the progression of them.
Yep.
So the TCAP,
Exactly.
None of them pass fail except third grade.
well, the TCAP,
Yeah.
you've got to do well in it or you,
Only in third grade, not in grade.
well, that's
Yep.
what we're talking about,
Yeah.
third grade.
Yeah.
Yep.
The rest of, and the other part is what, a fourth year grade? TCAP's
It's 15%.
15%?
But, yeah, this year we didn't even use it at all because we didn't have the scores back in time to put them on grade cards. So it really didn't impact a student's grades in any way this year. That will be different next year too.
Let me ask, and I know we don't know the numbers yet on how many's gonna be retained in third grade, but can Madisonville Intermediate handle several retentions
There's a-
space-wise?
They have a plan.
They have a plan, wonderful. I should have assumed they did.
Well, hopefully, the students that need to be in summer school will be there. They have to attend 90% of their days, and we have a plan for some makeup days in July if some of them don't make their 90% attendance. And then they'll be tested at the end of summer school to see if they showed growth. And so our hope is that all the students who have to be there are in summer school. And we've had a few whose parents just said they can't make it or they choose not to. They've said they will just be retained. Or some have said they will withdraw their students and go homeschool or to some other option, which is unfortunate, but
Do
we,
we have buses running for that?
yeah.
Who decides growth?
We have to test them again at the end of summer school.
I mean, does the state decide growth or
Yeah.
do we decide?
No.
growth?
No, they gave us they have to improve 5% from their pre-test. So third graders, just to give you an idea, they took the TCAP in the end of April. They took the retake at the end of May. They took a pre-test at the beginning of summer school, and they will take a post-test at the end of summer school. So that's 4 assessments for those 9-year-old students.
That's a lot of tests.
Yeah,
Are
They
there,
can only miss one day of summer school.
2 days,
2? Okay.
Out of how many days?
20. Yep. So some of them had plans to be out of town. We've tried to accommodate that with the makeup days.
are there any parents that are concerned about their kids can't read? Or are there more of them concerned about, which I know there's more of them concerned about they're not gonna get to go to the fourth grade than they are their child, and not just in this county, because it may be the only people they put on TV and the only people you talk to. But is that what you're saying? We're not worried about whether they can read or not. We're worried about they're not gonna get to move on to the fourth grade.
Well, and the tests that Angie Garrett gives, the benchmark tests 3 times a year, those are the tests that really show if they can read.
But
Those are
do
the,
the parents care? That's what I'm saying.
well, I don't know if they care. They're informed.
They would rather for them to go to the fourth grade and not be able to read as for us to retain them and them not be able to read. Was that a fair statement?
I haven't heard
Some maybe-
much. I haven't heard
I
much
don't
of that. I've heard some concerns from parents whose students didn't qualify for summer school because they have a learning disability, who are struggling readers, who wanted them to be able to go, who feel like their children need the help, but we had to make room for all the students who had to attend because of this law. So I've heard some feedback from parents who said, my child needs to be in summer school and you can't serve them because there's not enough room. And that's unfortunate, especially for a parent who's interested in their child getting extra help. But I haven't heard a lot of people say that they are just more concerned with.
But have you heard any concern about they can't read? Or is it more, what you're hearing is whether they're gonna be retained or passed?
I'd say a mix. And we've had some who had really good grades, and then they didn't do well on the TCAP, and there's been some confusion there. How are they making A's and B's and they can't pass the test? So we've tried to communicate a lot about what the different grades mean, and we will do more of that next year. We have, Shauna has a plan to have additional in-person meetings with parents throughout the year to say this is where they're performing, this is their reading level, this is how they're doing on a practice assessment. So they'll be more informed throughout the school year. to know exactly what their child is struggling with or mastering.
But I think statewide, just to be honest, statewide, and I know the rest of them has heard it too. They're not worried about whether they can read. They're worried about whether they're gonna move on up. Which I may be around a different group of people than what most people are, but anyway.
Well, if I had a
You're
child in
doing
the
good.
third grade, I would be very concerned if they were forced to be
I had one going
retained.
into the third grade, a granddaughter, and I mean, they've got to know how to read. She decided she likes to read.
Good.
They've got to like to read
Yeah,
to be
that
able
makes
to
a
read.
difference. Yep.
But I just don't believe I just don't believe these parents are concerned about the main thing.
Any other questions or suggestions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you for the information and the update. And I know everyone's doing hard work, and I know you all are too, and we appreciate that, the teachers. 6-8-9, Director of Schools Evaluation Results.
Good or bad?
You're asking me? I think that's good. I think it's good. I think she does a good job. Let's say probably if the testing wasn't in there, it would have been higher. I mean, you look at the administrative evaluation, 4.7, and the board is a 4.0. Achievement of the board, 3.3, goals 3.6, total score 3.9. That's my opinion. I don't know if anybody else, how they feel about it.
That mean you get a raise?
Well, I'd like to commend Dr. Windsor and the job that she's done, the support she's given to the staff, and the support she's given to us. And I appreciate that, Dr. Windsor.
Well, I can say that it is a pleasure to support these people. I mean, they do the hard work. All I try to do is eliminate the obstacles and support them as best I can. So I could not work for a better group of people and a stronger team. So that part is my privilege. Thank you.
The board achievement average, that's us, right? 3.3, we're the lowest one on there, right? Is that what? So our achievement,
It's where the achievement of the district is, the test results.
The test results.
Based on our test results,
That's
did we
part of my
achieve?
evaluation as well.
Yes.
a board achievement average.
Yeah, that's from the test scores and those few questions that were in there.
It's not your behavior. You didn't,
Well, I
you
didn't
didn't
know
bring that
that.
score down.
I just wondered. See, I'm like these third graders. I can't comprehend what I'm reading. I'm used to just plain and simple
Yeah.
English. That looks to me like board achievement average. That would be what we've achieved.
It does have some of that in there. I think it's got I believe it has a couple of questions about, just a few questions about
Most of
level
the boards is
distinction
the
and
4.0.
the trainings and things you go to, but most of it is achievement of the district and scores.
Yeah.
Well, now,
Appendix B is the board, I believe, the 4.0.
Now, we've been sitting here talking about how much we could help all this team, the teachers and everything. When are we ever gonna tell, where are we at on the 8% raise and all the longevity pay? When are we,
Hopefully, we're expecting maybe at the next meeting, I think that's the 27th of June, is that right? We will hear from the county commission that,
shouldn't be no
That's been
problem,
approved.
are they? Have you had any questions from them? So we're helping a little.
oh yeah, we are
Yeah.
doing all that we can.
We might get you up to Yamaha or National Seating or something one of these days. If we do that about every year, 8 or 10%.
Is the state still thinking about the raise that they put across they're considering
Starting at the,
when the starting
50,000.
teachers at
at
50,000?
2025, is that when that
I
starts?
think that's what I
2025.
read.
But now a lot of veteran teachers are not happy about that. What are we gonna do with the ones that's,
Won't they get a percentage?
We'll have to raise the whole
It'll be
scale.
like a prorate, I don't know, they'll rate it somehow. From what I read.
see, I've been here 30 years, you're gonna hire somebody new, and they're gonna be making as much or more than I am. You heard any of that? Which I'm not old enough to have 30 years, I'd probably be 10 years.
Okay, we'll move on. Old business, 68-10, Director of Schools report.
Okay, I'm going to give you a brief rundown, and then we have something fun to focus on tonight. Summer programs are all in session. Schools are offering summer camps for the rising kindergarten students to become familiar with teachers and the schools. Summer schools offered in grades 1 through 12. They receive breakfast and lunch each day, and where available, bus transportation has been provided. Students will attend that through June 27th of this year. There are currently almost 40 positions available across the county. Those vary in different departments. Some are exceptional education, computer science and career exploration, and maintenance positions. There will also be positions available next year for the all-core tutors and substitute teachers. This past Tuesday, Cleveland State hosted an HVAC open house at their Monroe Center. Students from Tellico High School and Sequoia High School could attend and receive information about becoming HVAC certified as they graduate from high school. And then tomorrow, 16 of our Monroe County employees will be recognized for their years of service to our students, and we wish them the best as they begin their retirement. And thank you for cueing the music at the right time. So that's just a summer report. We're not going to go into enrollment or anything like that. But we did want to, I'll just read you a little brief. Alicia did me a very nice little summary, so I think I'll just send this to you so you'll get to see all of this information because it's very useful. But elementary school teachers throughout the district, basically starting with this year, computer science standards will be implemented and required for the following school year. So elementary school teachers will incorporate computer science concepts into their lessons and have access to lesson plans, books, and different grade level robots, such as B-bots, Blue bots, and Pro bots. And we have samples tonight that we're going to show you. Middle school teachers will also integrate computer science concepts into their teaching, and the students will have the opportunity to take a computer science course during one of their special course times, and each middle school will also receive a set of Finch robots, which I believe we also have one of those over there. And then in addition, all incoming freshmen in the 24-25 school year will need to complete a high school computer science course before graduating. So each high school will receive a set of Finch robots as well. So I've asked Kelly if she would to show you, these are the neatest things that our kids are going to be able to have exposure to and be able to work with. I've asked her to just show us how they work, if you don't mind. And Alicia. Oh, good. I wondered how you were going to do both of those. So Alicia and Kelly.
We're going to roll our work area over there in front of you. And while we're doing that, I'll just tell you that the robots that you see here, the one that looks like a bee is for the youngest students. So that would be kindergarten and first grade. This one that looks very similar, but it's clear, is for slightly older students. And then your fourth and fifth graders would use this robot here, which is a ProBot. But we're just going to demonstrate, this is a 6x6 grid. And we would have a bigger one if we were using it in a classroom. But what these robots do, and I'm going to turn this one on, is they will follow the student directions to achieve something on the grid. So the teacher would place an object, hopefully as part of a lesson. So for example, if they're teaching a lesson on navigating streets, going north and west, then they would say, you want to go how many blocks north, how many blocks west, and the student would take the robot and program it to do whatever the teacher wanted them to do. So in this case, we're just going to program this robot really quick. I'm going to put it on this block. It's super easy for the little ones. They just say, okay, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and they can choose any path they want. But in this case, I'm going the easy route. 1, 2, 3, 4, forward, and then it's going to go 1 to the side here. So on the top of the robot, they have those directional buttons. So I'm going to click the forward button, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the Did it go that last time? And then the turn button, and then have it go forward one more time. So the student would look at this and have to figure out how to get it where they want it to go. And then they just click go. And one of the really cool things about this, and Alicia and I found this out earlier, is it takes some thinking. Like you may think it's going to go where you want it to go, but then you realize you've gone one space too far. And that is a computer programming concept of debugging. So you have to figure out where you went wrong and then go back. So now my little robot is at the pair. So he went where I wanted him to go. They can add additional things to the grid. So then the robot will have to make more than one stop. So it will do all kinds of different things. The difference between this one and that one is that this is a Bluetooth robot. So they will have an app, and they can program on the app, but they can also program on the robot directly. And then the last one I'm going to show you, and this is the one that is for slightly older students. I'm going to pull my grid off here. This robot, which they're going to love because it looks like a car, it's called a Probot, and it has a programming window. It will hold up to 200 commands. So they can turn it on and figure out what they want the robot to do. And it's some fairly complex directions. So they've worked up to just go north, just go west, to a set of directions like this. And so I've already programmed this one, and I'm going to put a pin in it because that will allow it to draw. And I've programmed it to make some shapes. So I'm just going to click go. The student would have to figure out the program. How many places it has to go in one direction, to what degree it turns to go in the other direction, and how many times you want it to repeat that process. And you don't have to use the pen. It's just kind of an extra thing so you get to see the results of your programming. And it's just going to keep going. It's going to do just a little bit more. But this is an opportunity for students to learn computational thinking from the beginning, which they will improve upon as they go through school, which will make them more qualified to enter the workforce in a workforce that's going to be more and more computer science focused. Does anybody have questions?
What do these things cost?
Well, they were free to us
Well, that's-
because we
that's a
got
good
them from the
cost.
state. I can tell you how much each one costs, but what matters to me is that the state gave us a kit for each school. And so like there are elementary kits, there are middle school kits, and there are high school kits. And then we have one other robot.
This is the Finch, and this is the middle school and the high school. It runs off a computer. So they would do coding on a computer, and it will light up, it will do the pen, it will do a whole lot more than the little pro car there.
Yeah, but the idea is they get an early start thinking of things as a process.
I think this is very exciting, and the kids will, I think it'll be
I cannot wait to show you the picture that I took during the board meeting of Matt Conley and Eric Weaver, their eyes lighting up when they were watching these robots. That's the best picture ever.
Don Weiss never taught me that.
If you would have taken instructions.
This is what my robot drew. If you want to see what my robot drew.
Oh, yeah.
If you could have seen your faces, just imagine how the kids are going to feel.
So this is gonna get kids back to thinking educational instead of learning how to take a test. Is that the bottom line?
Hopefully it's going to get them thinking about computational ways
How
of
to,
addressing
how to,
problems.
knowledge,
You'll do better on
and do better on the test. The heck with tests, is what I think.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
just leave these here if you want.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
6-8-11, any other business the board feels necessary to discharge its duties. I just want to say, Dr. Windsor sent us out an email today to look at, and I think it pertains to this, so just look at that, because that's something that'll come along probably next month.
I just sent it to Ms. Sanders, so we
Oh,
can send it out to
okay.
them, yeah.
Whoops, I'm sorry, it was
That's okay.
sent to me and Sandra, so, we'll get it sent out to you all, and, there'll be discussion on this policy. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.